afternoon. How are we doing? I'll take a round of applause for not having done anything yet. Hi, my name is Jenny Lay-Flurrie. Welcome. I'm truly excited to have you all here. How was lunch? Were there any lines? The hugest lines ever. Well, we have a really full session here for you today. We're going to be walking through the world of accessibility and how accessibility is shaping the future of artificial intelligence. My name's Jenny Lay-Flurrie. I'm the Chief Accessibility Officer, and I'm really excited to be welcoming two special guests for this session. One, founder CEO Preety Kumar from DQ, and the other, the head of GitHub Accessibility, Ed Summers, who are both backstage. My job is to walk you through some of really the umbrella, the architecture of how we're approaching this before the superstars come out, and show you what they're equally and both up to, which is really material goodness. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so let's get going. Who works in accessibility? Who works in disability? Give me a show. A couple of you. Who is this a new topic for? All right, quite a few of you. Well, let me get you to the key cusp of this as quickly as I possibly can. I've had the privilege of being in this role 10 years. Why do we have a Chief Accessibility Officer? Because disability is a big thing. It is well over 1 billion people in the world. 1 in 5 now identify as neurodivergent. That's a new umbrella term since 2015. That includes anything from autism to ADD to dyspraxia, dyslexia. 83% will experience at some point in their lifetime, and most disability is non-apparent. You cannot see it with the eye. In fact, almost 10% of Microsoft employees have identified in the US as having a disability. My job, in a short nugget, is to make sure that we are moving at the speed of trust. The biggest thing that people with disabilities need is technology that works, just works, right off the bat. And that means that I'm working across 19 divisions, 6,000 different products, 550 odd buildings, events like this one, with an incredible army of folks to make sure that we are building accessibility in by design, or we are testing and remediating to make sure that we meet and deliver above compliance. And that's a really important construct for us. In fact, there are 3 really important foundational items, which were the first things that we tackled when I came into this role. First is skilling on accessibility, we believe, should be mandatory for every employee in every company. It has been at Microsoft for 6 years. 98% of our employees have taken a mandatory course that isn't just about how to talk to a deaf person, which is very important, but it goes far beyond that. It's how do you design, build, code, remediate, and make sure that you are delivering accessibility meetings, HTML, events, anything that you touch needs to be inclusive and accessible so everyone can bring their magic to the table. We propose, we're a big proponent of inclusive design, meaning that we are going above the bar of compliance. That means that we recognize exclusion. We take one scenario, we take one and extend to many, and we learn from the beauty of human. And above all, we have really profound listening systems. And there will be a few that I say, write those down because you may need it. The first is this one, the Disability Answer Desk. This is one of our biggest listening vehicles, but that's not the actual #1 job. Their #1 job is providing technical support to disabled customers, any customers, enterprise, consumer. It is free, it is 24/7, and it is available at Disability Answer Desk. If you just search that in any reputable search engine like Copilot, you will bring it up. It also has sign language, so deaf technical support agents. So if your first language is sign, you can communicate in that language. So the foundation, these are 3 of the top components that we've embedded in, and they've materialized and helped us to produce some really good stuff. And I'm going to give you some quick examples. First, let me hit on hardware. Hardware has been a really big journey for us. And have any of you been over to the booth space yet, the hub? Are you planning to? I encourage you to. Please check out the accessibility booth where you will find some of these technologies. By leaning into one, the first one was actually a veteran who was disabled during a war, came back, wanted to game. Gaming being a massive area of therapeutic gain, but also play. We wanted to make sure that he could game even though he may not have opposable thumbs. That scenario created the adaptive controller. Other employees also suggested to us that there was a better way to design a mouse. And so we took those scenarios, again, learn from many, build for one, extend to many, and that created the adaptive accessories, which is the first and only mouse that Microsoft has produced where we put our CAD files online. You buy the little teeny mouse, which is actually perfect for travel. It slips in your pocket real nice, and then you can 3D print whatever tail works for you if you have RSI, arthritis, cerebral palsy, or more. And just launched, actually just over a year ago, is the low vision keyboard. This came from our low vision community, suggesting to us that the font could be brighter, the lighting could be stronger. And what we found is that this is a far more impactful keyboard for everyone. It's not just in the hardware, of course, there's this little thing called software, and there's some great examples where this has been impactful as well. All of these came from people with disabilities bringing their ideas to the fore. Read Aloud, which is, you'll see in Edge, has 10 million active users a month. Immersive Reader, a very specific feature designed for reading with dyslexia, which is free and available across the entirety of M365, that has 1 million active users a month. And the Accessibility Assistant, who's used that? Previously known as Accessibility Checker. Anyone use that? A few of you, which means many of you are going to take this one as your number 2 piece of homework, to find this and turn it on by default, because what it will do is help you to build more accessible and inclusive documents just by writing them. It has a little assistant that nudges you all the way while you write them. But of course, the biggest learning that we've had, and these principles remain true to this day, is the importance of discoverability. In Windows 10, accessibility used to be under a feature called ease of use. And the ridiculous thing is that no one found it easy to use because they couldn't find it. We did a market research study, which cost money, which is kind of hilarious when I think about it now. But we were very excited about this, and we listened to a lot of people, and they came back with one fundamental finding. Make it easy to find, make it easy to use, and change the name to be accessibility. It was very profound. Sorry, that is terrible British sarcasm for people waking up in the room after lunch. What that means is that in Windows 11, and one of our key principles going forward, is that any and all accessibility features will be easy to find and easy to use. In fact, you'll find all accessibility features in Windows just by going into Wi-Fi, where you hit Wi-Fi on your taskbar. And of course, this extended to actually my favorite, packaging. We can't create these great products and then put them in a box with a plastic clamshell that no one can open. We needed to make sure that if we're giving and people are buying products, they can independently open them themselves. And this became what we did for the adaptive controller, that if you buy any Microsoft hardware today, it will be in this sustainable and accessible packaging. So why am I telling you all of this? Because these foundational features have really grounded us, and I'm very, very proud that we were doing this before we hit the AI era. Anyone heard of AI? Has it come up a couple of times so far today? Welcome. You're going to hear it 52 more times before the end of today, I'm sure. I want to just give you a quick sense of the framework of how we're approaching AI and some of our learnings as we approach this era very differently, with both the benefits and the risks. And I'll give you the punchline before I dig in. The benefits for disabled people are utterly profound. Profound. But we have to mitigate the risks as we walk through. So as many of you know, AI is not new, started in the 1950s. We've had traditional AI and machine learning, generative AI that started in November of 2022, and AI agentic coming through right now. We've been in this game for some time. Who's used an app called Seeing AI? Anyone heard of this? That was 1, 2, 3 hands, and I think most of them were on my team. So homework number 3, no matter what your device, fruity, robot, open it up, go to the apps and download Seeing AI. It was an app created by a British blind developer who believed that AI and ML would help him to be able to see the world more easily. It's a very easy app. You can open it up, take a picture, and it will describe the picture for you. This thing launched in 2017. And if you can just breathe in that era, this was the first AI app that Microsoft ever produced. And it was for the blind. We then continue into generative AI and what we're seeing in this era, which is where we can generate images. And now we've got the possibility of creating custom neural voice or synthesized speech, which is incredibly profound for people with ALS or MND. But there are risks. If you think back to that Seeing AI, the risk of security and privacy of face, of speech, of sound is very important. And this traverses all of these environments. We want to make sure, in fact, there was an act that came through in Illinois to prevent people from being able to describe a face. For fairly understandable reasons, AI can misinterpret it. To a blind person, though, that is a game changer. That is equalizing the playing field. So we were able to get a special exemption for that. What we found with generative AI is that the world doesn't understand disability. In fact, if you look at the analysis of websites around the world, only 2% of them are accessible today. Most of them have incorrect imagery of people with Down syndrome, autism, blindness, and more. Those websites, those LLMs, are being used to train AI. So we have to correct societal bias that exists. And then we also have to make sure that synthesized speech, this is actually Brian Jensen from New Orleans, who lives with ALS. His voice cannot be used for the wrong reasons. It has to stay local and within device. Preserving identity and enabling him to communicate. So here's some of the things that we're doing here before I bring out our first guest. First, we're tackling the bias that exists in imagery. This actually started with a lady called 𝗦𝗽𝗲𝗸𝗀𝗁, who is a little person who lives in Dublin. She is a founder and CEO of her own organization called Tilting the Lens. She has also been on the front cover of Vogue. She took and put in a prompt that said, please create an image of a little person, very fashionable, Gucci was involved, and leather jackets. The image that came back, this was 2023, was of a Christmas elf. We had to fix that. So we took that as one scenario. We went to Little People of America. We've gone to an organization called 𝗬𝗓𝗄𝗃𝗓𝗄 Blind Trust. And what you will now see if you use Copilot is that first wave, a brand new updated imagery. If you're trying to replicate or build images of disability, you will find more accurate for blind, low vision, autism, Down syndrome, persons of small stature, little people, and amputee. Correcting the data that goes behind AI. You'll also find the work that we're doing to collect data samples from people. We're actually doing this through the University of Illinois. Is now beginning to launch a brand new wave of features coming into Windows. I want to show you 2 of them. They are brand new and announced today. The first is natural voices, new natural voices coming into Narrator, which is a screen reader built into Windows that is predominantly used by blind.
Current experience.
AI voice generators use neural text-to-speech, NTTS, systems powered by deep learning. These models are trained on massive datasets of human speech and learn to replicate pitch and tone, rhythm, and pacing.
New experience, natural HD voices.
Modern AI voice generators use neural text-to-speech, NTTS, systems powered by deep learning. These models are trained on massive datasets of human speech and learn to replicate pitch and tone, rhythm and pacing, natural pauses and emphasis.
Hear the difference? Quite different, right? The whole theory here is that by promoting natural voices, it will make it easier and more productive for blind people, no matter what their use case may be. But it also starts to extend to dictating and fluid dictation. I'm going to show you a video that was actually made by a member of my team. She's based in Florida. Her name is Preety Kumar. She leads inclusive design at Microsoft. She lives with ALS. Her arms are paralyzed. And that means that she uses, well, let me show you.
Let me check to make sure fluid dictation is turned on. Okay, great. Voice access wake up. My name is Preety Kumar, and I lead inclusive design at Microsoft. I have ADHD and I cannot move my arms due to ALS. Technology was not built with users with these disabilities in mind. For example, voice dictation was built to mirror directly what a user says. I have trouble organizing my thoughts and I struggle with grammar, so I must edit what I dictate on the page using a foot mouse that clicks one letter at a time on this on-screen keyboard that you see to the right. I asked myself, how can I leverage AI to move faster? How do I challenge the status quo? The answer was the hackathon. I joined a hackathon team willing to work on this challenge. And out of that hack came fluid dictation. This allows me to forgo the step of having to check the grammar, as fluid dictation does it automatically. Join me in saying goodbye to the keyboard.
Pretty powerful examples. Here's the kicker behind it. We consumed and inhaled an enormous amount of data that came to us via University of Illinois from people with Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, and other speech disabilities. That has improved the overall speech recognition of Azure by 18 to 60%. And that is just the start of what will be coming through. We're also all in on agentic. One of the biggest profound things within any company, particularly ours, is neurodiversity. Our own employee community is now well over 5,000 strong. The number one question, what do I do? How do I get supports? Where do I go? We compiled all of our information into a library and quickly produced an agent to answer that question. No more do you have to say, who do I talk to? Where do I go? Who do I email? You can just simply answer, build your own agent, leverage all the materials that you have within your company or that are externally available to help your employees on this journey. And I will tell you that neurodiversity and where we are today is just the start of where we will go. But I'll leave you before I pass over with my world and why this matters. If you're not invested in accessibility today, I ask you to change that, to help us. We need to shift left, and we need to make it easier for people to bring themselves. I started my job at Microsoft working for Hotmail. Anyone? 2005. I am deaf. You will not know that because my speech is brilliant, and I'm also very modest. But I use a sign language interpreter. Jeff is in the front here. When I first started, I used Link Communicator. I had to request a sign language interpreter and captioning for every meeting, and if it changed, there was a 48-hour change notice period. Now I go into Teams. I select my interpreter. I turn on transcript. I turn on captions. And at the end, I make sure that I have notes. I stand here really proud as a deaf disabled woman who's now leading accessibility at Microsoft. You don't have to be disabled to be in this gig. We need all ear, but lives change because of this work, which is why I want to bring up two people to show how they are making it easier, not just to leverage accessibility, but to build accessible by design. First, I'm going to ask Preety Kumar to come up and show you what DQ, one of our most amazing partners that we've worked with for literally decades, what they are doing to make sure that we are building by design every time. Preety.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you. Boy, does Jenny not inspire you to create accessible code every single time? Yeah, she does me. So I'm Preety Kumar. I'm the CEO and founder of DQ. DQ is a pioneer and global leader in digital accessibility, and our mission is very simple. Help every organization become and stay accessible. And we do that in 3 ways. First, through technology. We build the tools that help teams find, fix, and monitor accessibility issues across the entire digital portfolio. Our Axe platform is powered by Axe Core, the industry's most trusted open source rule set that's been downloaded more than 3 billion times. Axe Core has become the standard for accessibility testing worldwide. Second, through education. DQ University has trained more than 200,000 professionals. Our accessibility chatbot integrated into how dev teams work, for example, in Microsoft Teams, equips teams with the knowledge they need to build accessibility into their everyday work. And third, through services. While tools and education are necessary, sometimes you need experts to hold your hand. And we have completed thousands of audits over the past 2 decades to help organizations understand the gaps beyond what automation can detect currently. In short, we combine the industry's leading technology, training, and expertise to deliver accessible experiences at scale. So our mission of digital equality is feeling what I call the tremors of AI, like everything else. Jenny was talking about how much we've heard about AI and how much more we'll hear about AI. So, like Jenny, as a founder, I find myself asking a very simple question with a very complicated answer. Will AI help or hurt accessibility? Will it speed up accessibility or set it back? On one hand, the web is 96% inaccessible. Only 4% of the web today is accessible to people with disabilities, according to a study by WebAIM. That's a massive gap, guys. When I started DQ, we were auditing and fixing 1 page at a time. Today, AI gives us the ability to prevent issues from occurring in the first place, and the chance to fix thousands. On the other hand, AI can be surprisingly inconsistent. Recently, I asked one of the leading LLMs a simple question. Who is impacted by keyboard traps? The first response focused narrowly on people with motor disabilities. Technically true, but far from complete. I asked it to reconsider everyone who might rely on a keyboard alone. The answer, you guys must have heard it, oh, you're right, I was wrong. The second answer was much better, but the key is I had to ask again, and I knew the first answer was incomplete. That variability matters. Inconsistent guidance leads to inconsistent accessibility, and inaccessibility consistency isn't a nice to have, it is essential, it is a human right. So even today, I still see some of the most basic accessibility issues in production, even on sites from the world's largest brands, Microsoft being an exception. In this demo, a user is tapping through the focusable elements. Everything works as expected until they hit a keyboard trap in the component in the middle of the page. At that point, focus gets stuck. They can't move forward, they can't move backward. And for anyone who relies on a keyboard, this experience effectively ends right there. Now, there are some of the easiest problems to prevent, yet they keep slipping through because teams don't have the right tools or the right knowledge. No seat belts, no airbags for accessibility at scale. Prevention is the seatbelt, detection is the airbag. And you only truly feel safe when you have both. So, we just saw what happens when you ship without seatbelts or airbags. So why focus so much on prevention? Well, because when accessibility issues are found late in the process, especially in production, cost explodes. This chart shows what we see with our customers and what IBM also reported. Fix an issue in design takes minutes. Let the same issue reach production and it costs up to 30x more. Developers have to switch context, dig up code they wrote weeks or months ago, cycle through the code, put it through QA, cut a new release. It's a full workflow reset. And it gets even worse with false positives. That's like an airbag going off when there's no crash. Needlessly painful. Chasing issues that aren't real can cost up to 386% more. And that's why we care so much about prevention at DQ. And accurate detection, reducing the noise, seatbelts, airbags, and no false alarms. So DQ is there for our customers at every stage, design, development, QA, production, and we don't need to meet you only when the airbag deploys. Our focus is prevention, building seatbelts into your design and dev workflows so no issues slip through. When teams can prevent problems up front, they can become self-sufficient and deliver accessible experiences faster at far lower cost with much less effort. All right? So if prevention is the seatbelt, this is where we buckle up. That's why we built the Axe MCP server. It brings accessibility directly into the IDE. So inaccessible code is stopped before it ever leaves the developer's desktop. We combine AI agents like Microsoft Copilot with DQ's decades of rules, tools, data, and expertise, so developers get clear, trustworthy guidance at the exact moment they are writing code, not weeks later in production. Now, let's talk about before AI agents ever entered this workflow, what accessible development felt like and looked like. The developers sat at the center of everything. They learned accessibility concepts through, resources like DQ University, wrote code in their editor, ran tests with the Axe platform. For each issue they found in the testing tool, they found the corresponding source code and made the attempt to fix the issue the best they could. And then they pushed the app into, merged the code and did a retest. It worked, but it relied on a hero developer or other downstream team members to find things in QA or production. Every team member had to know what to do, when to do it, to fix every issue on their own, all the while building functional requirements the business wanted them to get out now. Our goal is to reduce that burden and take it off the individual, bake it into the expertise of the tools. So here's what changes with AI agents. Now, the agent sits in the center, but the developer stays firmly in charge. The shift is huge. So instead of writing every line of code, developers are really supervising a ton of AI-generated code. The cognitive load is in checking and verifying, not coding. And this is where the Axe Accessibility MCP server gives you an advantage. With Axe, you aren't writing bespoke tests for every feature. Our out-of-the-box tests from the Axe platform are incredibly powerful in this context and getting better every day. With the Axe MCP server, we embed Axe Assistant, our AI chatbot, powered by our platform and DQ University, directly into the agentic workflow. You get a continuous code, test, fix, test loop that makes accessibility the default. And because it's happening at the speed of AI, teams can deliver accessible code faster than ever before. So how does this really show up in a developer's IDE? Here's what we've asked the Axe MCP server to analyze our local host, contact us page for accessibility. First, our requirements and analyze tool makes sure you get started in the right place. The agent can pull accessibility requirements for a new feature before writing the code, then use the analyze tool to test new or existing code. Issues are detected automatically with consistent high-precision results, no accessibility expertise required. Second, the Remediate tool helps fix the issues fast. For each finding, the Remediate tool proposes the most efficient, context-sensitive, and aware fix. The agent modifies the code so the developer can review the change, apply it with a single click, and move down the list until every issue is resolved. Here you're seeing the alt text for the logo being added and the invisible label for the social media icons being added, okay? Third, the Validate tool closes the loop. The agent can recheck the updated code with the Validate tool so developers know the fix actually worked. Again, without jumping back and forth between tools. So what you saw is what we call accessibility at the speed of AI with humans still in the driver's seat. You give your AI agent a simple task, something like make this code accessible. The agent then calls the Axe platform through the Axe MCP server, uses Axe Assistant to interpret the results, pulls in the guidance, tests, it gives you the implementation details and remediation suggestions. And from there, the agent proposes the concrete code change right in your IDE. And as the developer stays in control, you review the diff with a single click. You can accept it, you can tweak it, you can reject it, or ask for something better. And with that, I'm going to say, if you want to see the Axe MCP server in action, please scan the QR code, request a demo, and join the waitlist. And we've got Julia in the back, or here in the front, handing out postcards, so you can also do that. Thank you very much for your attention today. Take care. Oh, wait. I thought Ed was, no. Ed Summers, my God, he leads the accessibility practice at GitHub, and there is no better person to close this session out. Thank you, Ed, I'm sorry.
All good, thank you.
Yeah.
Hello there. I have a new CNI dog. I need to get him settled. Down. Down. Good boy. Almost there. Okay. There we go. Okay. So developers have been using AI in our editors for several years now, and it's been increasing our productivity. The next wave of productivity increase is coming from including AI across the entire SDLC. At GitHub, we call that continuous AI. It's a play on our old friend CI/CD, or continuous integration and continuous deployment. Next slide, please. We have a tremendous opportunity to leverage continuous AI for accessibility. And it's more than an opportunity, it's almost a responsibility, because if we're implementing AI throughout the SDLC to generate code, to review code, to run tests, then it's absolutely critical that we include accessibility in that process. Now, there's a lot to learn in this space, and it's moving very rapidly. So at GitHub, we wanted to create a packaged solution that would allow developers that are building on GitHub to easily implement continuous AI and get started with it. Next slide, please. So we created an AI-powered accessibility scanner. It's a GitHub action that runs in your repo. You point it at your repo where your source code lives, your deployed web application, It scans the web application and finds accessibility violations. It files issues to track those violations, and then it fixes those issues using GitHub Copilot Coding Agent. So let's take a quick look at how this works in practice. Let's run the demo. I don't hear it. We're working on it.
This is GitHub's accessibility scanner. It finds potential accessibility gaps, files GitHub issues to track them, and assigns those issues to Copilot to be fixed. Let's run a scan. The workflow run logs show 6 potential accessibility gaps were found on our site. GitHub issues were filed for each one, and all issues were assigned to Copilot to open PRs to fix. This issue flags a color contrast issue in the time element. It explains why the element's color contrast is problematic in a way that both human readers and Copilot can leverage to create a fix. Since this issue was assigned to Copilot, Copilot opened a pull request with a fix. Let's review it. Copilot has edited a Sass file in our repo to change the color of date-time elements. To review how Copilot arrived at that value, we can open the task view. Copilot gives a summary, and if we scroll back, we'll note Copilot is actually run an ad hoc Python tool to verify the color is chosen. But if we want Copilot to use a specific variable from our theme, we can @mention Copilot with instructions, or we can set instructions that apply to all pull requests by adding a .github Copilot instructions markdown file. And that's GitHub's accessibility scanner. Review the README file for more tips on setting up and running the scanner in your repos and on your sites.
Super. All right, let's go to the next slide, and we'll break this down. So the scanner scans your deployed web application using Axe Core. Preety mentioned the Axe Core library earlier. It is the gold standard for website scanning. And the gift, the most powerful aspect of Axe Core, is no false positives. Let's go to the next slide. So the scanner, when it finds violations, it creates the GitHub issues. So if you're not using GitHub issues, we use issues on GitHub to track bugs or feature requests. Now, what's special about this is that we spent time iterating on the text that's included in the description of each issue. And we've optimized it for accessibility. It includes the context and the specificity that's required for a human or an AI model to try to fix the issues that's being described. As we'll talk about in a minute, it's absolutely critical when working with AI to provide the context and specificity in order to get the results you want. Let's go to the next slide. By default, the scanner assigns the issues that were created to the GitHub Copilot coding agent. Now, some of you may be familiar with GitHub Copilot agent mode. Well, that's a little different. That's like watching Copilot work live in your editor. But what's great about this is that you can literally assign issues to Copilot, I mean the username, the handle Copilot on GitHub. And when you do that, the GitHub Copilot coding agent goes off in the background and starts working on a fix. Now, what's also great about it is that while you're off exercising, relaxing, learning new skills, and GitHub Copilot is generating fixes for you, it's leveraging all of your CI/CD workflows that you've built around pull requests on GitHub. Now, what's also important is that by default, these fixes are not committed to, or they're not merged. You need to have a human in the loop who has the ability to review the fixes potentially do additional testing, so for example, manual accessibility testing, and ensure all of your existing quality processes before merging to main. Let's go to the next slide. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is optimizing GitHub Copilot, the behavior specifically for accessibility. We think of AI models as eager junior developers. They have lots of energy. They're going to go off and try to do something for you. And the key thing about getting the results you want out of an AI model is to be very specific and provide the context required so that you get the results you want. That could be functionality, security, accessibility, you name it. So we're starting to get a better handle on how to prompt models for better accessibility results. The way you do that with GitHub Copilot is with something called custom instructions. You can create custom instructions at your organization level, your repo level, or for an individual user. So we've recently published a guide to help you create better custom instructions specifically for accessibility. And on the screen here, there's a few of the principles that are included in the guide, but I wanted to give you a flavor of them here, and you can also check out the guide yourself. So let's go to the last slide, where we have a QR code here that will take you to the repo where the scanner. And there's a few more short URLs on the screen here where you can also get access to the guide and some other materials there as well. So the scanner is free. It's in the GitHub Marketplace. It's also open source. So you can crack open the source code and pull out pieces and parts that you want and maybe do the same kinds of things in your existing workflows, or you can just use it straight out of the box. Jenny, we're at 1:42. Do you think we have time for a question or two?
No, I do not.
Jenny says...
I do not, but I will put up the last slide for you, sir, which is just all of the other links and another QR code. I think you're going to have another 52 of these by the end. But Ed, that was fantastic.
Thank you all.
Give it up. Thank you to Preety Kumar. Please, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask us. We want to be respectful of the next speaker and make sure that they're able to get up here before their next session. So we will go to the back. We also have a ton of amazing people that you will want to meet at the accessibility booth in the hub. Please do check that out. And we're also got another couple of sessions on different topics this week. Have a great Ignite, folks. Thank you very much.